Four divisions, four hosts, all battling it out for the Holy Grail of the American Hockey League, the Calder Cup. This is the Holy GrAHL podcast with Andrew Rinaldi, Deana Weinheimer, Jeremy Paul, Michael Liu, and Zack Power.
Hello and welcome to Field Pass Hockey's AHL podcast, the Holy GrAHL. We're up to 10 episodes. This is the 10th. We're in the double digits. Excellent. Here at the Holy GrAHL, we're all about all things American Hockey League and the yearly race to their Holy GrAHL, the Calder Cup. Before we get too far into this, now we normally go around the screen. It's not that far of a leap, but we'll start with Andrew, who specializes in our 5-on-3 kill.
Yeah, you know what? I'm a defensive specialist. I love these kind of episodes. So I'm Andrew Rinaldi. I cover the Chicago Wolves and Grand Rapids Griffins here at Field Pass Hockey. And I mean, wow, episode 10, just call us the Charlotte Checkers hitting double digits here. I love it.
Boy, oh boy. And that's a part of two games that are hitting double digits. Wow, wow, wow. We got a lot to get into for this week's episode. I'm Zack Power. I'm covering the Toronto Marlies this year for Field Pass Hockey. And I think we should get right into the meat and bones of it with the weekend review. Andrew?
Yeah, absolutely. So for those of you who haven't tuned into any AHL hockey this week, I mean, the hot stick is Chicago's captain, Andrew Poruralski. I mean, have yourself a weekend. In 3 games, Potts put up 3 goals and 7 assists for 10 points. And this is already his second Player of the Week award. And, you know, he's just feeling it right now. I mean, he just looks good and the top player on a top team in the league. And it just there's more to come for sure. So on top of that, we had a bit of an interesting story going on in Texas earlier this week. So on Thursday, for the first time in over a year, we saw Ben Bishop suit up in a hockey game. He was making a rehab start for the Texas Stars, and it didn't really go over so well for him. Bishop made 26 saves on 34 shots, and for those of you who aren't that great with math, that's 8 goals given up on Thursday. And then on Saturday, Dallas announced that Bishop was getting called up, put on long-term injured reserve, and unfortunately, his career is effectively done. It's really unfortunate. I guess he just couldn't recover from that knee injury that's been hampering him this long, and you could just tell Bishop really looked like he wasn't set on a lot of those shots that came his way, really struggling to track the puck. And I mean, as an observer myself, I figured, you know, okay, this guy hasn't played in almost 2 years here. Maybe this is just rust, but as it's come to see, I mean, he's just really, his body is just not keeping up with him. And it's unfortunate. I mean, this guy is just an excellent person, and what a warrior to try and battle back through this. It's just, you know, some things are just out of your control, and this is just an unfortunate way to see such a great career come to an end.
And you know what? It's kind of one of those things. He was such a top-level goalie. He started he played so well in Tampa Bay, and then he was playing pretty good in Dallas, and then he had a couple of injuries, and for him to try to come back. But looking out there, it's you go back and you see some of these players who go down to the AHL for a couple of games, or for a little while to kind of get their feet back in before they go up to the NHL. Like Carey Price was last year for Laval, and we look at like even Mrazek this year, and I was looking at Mrazek last week and said he's pretty shaky, right? But like this was something else, right? I think that there was something that was kind of bothering him in that game. It kind of looked, even when he was going down to kind of make the save, it just didn't look like he was there. It just felt like he was playing through pain, and it's tough to watch when you see a veteran goalie like that give up 8 goals.
Yeah, and especially a guy of his pedigree. I mean, you just don't expect that from him. And yeah, like I said, you can attribute Russ to, maybe not tracking the puck as well, but I remember Josh Levo's 8th goal on the breakaway. I mean, Ben just looked like he almost just tripped on himself as he slid it 5-hole. He just didn't have it. And like I said, it's unfortunate. You want to see these guys that are just world-class athletes come up here and battle. I mean, again, all the props to him. He battled as hard as he could, but his body just couldn't take it. And it's unfortunate, but again, I want to say, congratulations to an absolutely wonderful career for Ben Bishop. He's been one of the premier goalies in the league for several years, and we wish him the best of luck in the next chapter of his life.
I actually think he started out his career in Ottawa. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that one goes way back. But I mean,
I believe technically he started out in St. Louis's system first. I think because I remember him in Peoria, and I remember people using Peoria in like the NHL games because you could play with him in a shootout, and you could just sit there in the butterfly, and he's the 6'7" goalie, and his shoulders are still up to the crossbar, and you could just eat the whole net. It was a thing of beauty. So that's my little nerd knowledge of the day, but I think he got his start in the NHL in Ottawa for sure.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I would like to know if during practice he said, okay, well, this is a little too much for me to keep going, or maybe I'll try to power through it. But there's got to be some sort of mentality. I'm sure that during practice, like this is tough.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's just like I said, it's just his body just couldn't keep up.
That's for sure. Let's move on to some better news for sure. DeBroni on December 8th became the first openly gay person to officiate a game in the AHL. And, we kind of seen this throughout the season where there was a number of women and linesmen now being able to step up and get their chance into the league. But for the LGBTQ2+ community, this is very, very a huge step, right? It's one of those things where the AHL, I don't want to say it's been an experimental league because it sort of is, but this is great. I'm happy to see that they're able to kind of be able to break this glass ceiling first. And I hope to see a lot more of this come down the tubes because stuff like this kind of grows the game, right? It makes you feel good about being a hockey fan. It's nice to be able to watch those sort of games and know that these people are pioneers of the industry.
Absolutely, it's just a feel good story, and this is kind of been the theme for the AHL all season is just kind of they have their doors open to everyone, and it's like if you can perform the job, if you can play, if you can do whatever, then you're the guy, you're the girl, you're the person. You're the person for the job, and we love to see it. And I think the best part about this is that it's the next step to breaking in the big leagues. And it's kind of, I mean, just like it is for players and coaches, you got to make a name for yourself down here in the AHL before you make your step up to the NHL. And it's only a matter of time before we see one of these ladies or we see Dre make his way on up to the big show. And at that point, I mean, imagine the influence of someone who might be doubting themselves that you're not capable because of who you are as a person. To see that on the big screen, I mean, that's how is that not inspiring,
And it all comes down to skill too. These people are so skilled at what they do.
Mm-hmm.
It's unreal. And those are tough shoes to fill. Let me tell you, officiating hockey or whatever sport it may be, those are tough shoes to fill.
Yeah. And you think, going up there and skating 24 minutes a game is tough. These refs don't get a break, man. You got to be out there for 60 minutes going and chasing these guys down. Not only physically, but mentally being sharp enough to make the calls, catch those split-second offsides, that are off by half an inch or whatever. I mean, for all the grief that refs get in this sport, it's an immensely demanding job. And I give applause to anyone who can go out and even try. I mean, I couldn't take the boos after I made like a goalie interference call or something like that from take away a goal from a hometown crew. Like, I don't know. That would just destroy me. It might just destroy my self-confidence. So all the props to him. And I mean, as you alluded to, you're watching the game grow in real time. You're watching history being made in real time. And this is all happening in this league. It almost feels like a week by week basis. It's nothing but good for the league, and they recognize it. And the doors are wide open. And if, like I said, if you have the skill to do it, you're going to do it. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter where you came from, what you look like, how you sound, none of that. Can you do the job? And that's the only requirement. And that's what makes this league awesome.
Yeah, and it's like you said, it's one of those things. You got probably 5, 10,000 fans in the stands, whatever it may be, and however other ones that are watching on AHL TV and the NHL network, and sometimes it's a TSN job sort of thing, right? So it's kind of great to be able to see that. Other success stories around the AHL, Jon Gillies, right? That's a name that kind of goes back a little bit, right? We've seen him in the AHL before, but he started with Bridgeport in training camp. So then he didn't really do so hot in it, I guess. And then he got sent down to the ECHL to play with the Maine Mariners. Didn't spend too long there because he was up to Providence not long after with the Bruins farm system, and then with Lehigh Valley. And now he's getting hauled up into St. Louis to play there as a goaltender. What a story. St. Louis now is having some of their most goaltenders in the NHL since 2015, the kind of rotation. And we're only into, what is it, December? My God. So it's been such a revolving door with so many different positions with COVID protocols and injuries and this and that and that. And, we're starting to see more and more of these opportunities, but a great success story for Gillies.
Absolutely. And just like, what a story. And again, you want to talk about inspiration, just you can never stop working, never stop fighting for that spot, because you never know where it's going to end up. And like, this guy was everywhere. And I figured excuse me, when Providence, he was what, I want to say 3-0 or 4-0 with them, and they let him go. And I'm looking like, I'm sorry, what more do you want from this guy? And it's like, your goaltending situation is good enough where this guy who hasn't lost in 3 starts, he's like, it's okay, we can let him walk. And then he goes in the Lehigh Valley, which admittedly is probably one of the worst situations as a goalie you can walk into. But he rides that pedigree and that never say die attitude. And now he's up here with the Blues. And, I won't go so far as to say he'll supplant Jordan Binnington for the job there or anything. But I mean, just to get there after going from Bridgeport, not making it, now you're in Maine. You're in Providence looking good, but then you get let go and you're in Lehigh Valley and it's just, So to see him just keep his nose down in the grindstone and just keep battling. I mean, I love it. I love seeing where he's at right now.
Yeah, and I guess it's one of those things. It's been done before. Michael Hutchinson always comes to mind for me. We kind of seen him go from bottom level ECHL to the Calder Cup Finals, and then to the NHL a season or two after. One guy who knows success though is Tory Mann, who's now played his 500th, or coached his 500th game behind the bench, and it's part of a tough season for Belleville, admittedly, but I think that he's got lots of potential for plenty of good seasons and a long tenure in the AHL for sure. He's kind of got that rock hard position.
Absolutely, and just getting to that half century, or I guess it's half millennium milestone. It's it's a testament. And yeah, he's got a bit of a tough assignment in Belleville, but I think 500 record and in such a tough division with maybe not the greatest roster, I think that speaks to something. And the longevity, I mean, coach again is another one of those very, very, what have you done for me lately kind of positions. So to get 500 games out of a guy, you got to instill some kind of trust from the organization, not just Belleville, but from Ottawa as well, that you're coaching these kids up right. You're developing them the way that they want. You're giving them what they need to succeed at the next level. And it's not just happenstance like, oh, he just tripped his way into 500 games. I mean, that's the result of something. So congratulations to Coach Mann. That's a great accomplishment on his part. And then we also have another 500 mark here. Curtis McKenzie played his 500th professional hockey game for the Texas Stars not just for the Texas Stars, but he was a part of the Texas Stars on Saturday. He was actually a former Chicago Wolf. I got his little bobblehead here. And and he actually ended up tying the game with just under 3 minutes left on Saturday, sending it to overtime where the Wolves did what they do and they win. But again, when you get to that kind of number, 500 games, I mean, that's no slouch. That's a guy who knows who it takes to win. He wears that A on his sweater for a reason. And, he provides just some invaluable qualities, I'll go with, to some of those young players down there in Texas. And just, everything you need in a veteran leader, that's Curtis McKenzie. He's been around the block for quite some time now. And all well-earned, well-deserved, big goal in his 500th game. I guess he couldn't have imagined, other than the win, who have gone any better. So, again, congratulations.
Yeah, and I guess it's one of those things where you look for that AHL veteran leadership, and it's right there in front of you. 500 games, and like these players need a veteran and someone who's been around the block a couple of times to know the ins and outs of the AHL. And I think that having someone on the team like that is so much valuable to any sort of AHL team.
Absolutely. I mean, you can stock your roster up with as many young, talented players as you have, but you got to have someone that's going to show them the ropes about how to. It's one thing to come out of, juniors where you're, blowing everyone out 8-5. I mean, we all love a good high scoring junior game, but the reality is that professional hockey is just a whole different animal. And you need these guys to kind of show the ropes to these young kids and what it takes to win, not just at this level, but at the next level. So guys like Curtis they're absolutely invaluable to these teams. And, it's great to see them sticking around for so long, As we talking about some young kids here, we got the best time of the year coming up. I don't know about you, but this is my favorite. We got the World Junior Championships here, and this is a bit of an odd placement for some AHL stories, but given the roster exemptions, we got some junior eligible players in the AHL that are going to be making their way over to the big tournament. So this year we have Manitoba's Cole Perfetti and Grand Rapids' Donovan Sabrango going and joining the Team Canada roster. You also got Utica's Alexander Holtz that is going to play for Sweden for the third time. That's kind of unbelievable in my book. Perfetti last year scored 6 points in 7 games. Yeah, I figure he's going to be a big part of Canada's game plan, while Sabrango is going to be making his debut. So what do you like about these Canadian kids here? I mean, speaking from the resident Canadian. And
well, as someone who watched the World Juniors cover to cover last year, I could tell you right now that Cole Perfetti, I was excited for him to be on the on the roster last year. And then he kind of got some AHL ice time. That was fantastic. And then for this year, it's so much more exciting because we know how good he's been. right? He's played great last year in the Canadian bubble, and he's played great this year. And I got to admit, he played a huge part in this even Team Canada being able to get to the silver medal last year, and it was kind of an upset for Canadian fans, but they just simply got outplayed. But it's one of those
Outplayed by
things.
who? I just
I don't think I'm allowed to say that word.
Continue.
It's one of those things, and you know what? Alexander Holtz has been playing so well. We've talked about him so many times on the podcast, and I'm sure that Donovan DeBrango, you've seen him play sort of thing as well for Grand Rapids. Like we're sending some of the best of the best, and I think that all of these players do have that American Hockey League experience and talent that they can showcase once again that they are some of the best of the young players in the world, really.
Absolutely, and I think that's going to give them a big edge when it comes down to crunch time. That you have guys like Perfetti that have this experience of playing against grown men, and now he's going to be going over here against, granted, some of the best young kids in the world, but they're still 18, 19 at best, 20-year-olds. And I think you're going to see a bit of an extra step there. I think Donovan Sabrango, he's been playing with some excellent poise down there in Grand Rapids. I think he's going to be leaned on quite a bit on a Canadian blue line that's already boasting some huge names, but just having that pedigree of going up there and having that professional hockey experience and knowing what it takes to win, and now learning from a coach like Ben Simon about, what you need to win at this level, at the next level, kind of as I alluded to earlier. But it's such a different style of hockey, the pro game and then the junior game. We all know that Canada is gonna go out there and put up goals in big bunches. You've seen the names on the roster. I mean, just a glut of talent, but having a guy like Sabrango back there who knows how to lock it down in crunch time, I think that's going to come up real nice for them when the games start to matter most. Now, a round robin game against Denmark or whatever, yeah, we already know you're going to win 15-0. It'll look great, but I don't know. You start seeing the red, white, and blue come down in the medal round, you're going to be real happy you have a guy like Sabrango back there. So it's exciting. I love watching the World Junior Championships. There's very few hockey events that get me going quite like this one. I can't wait.
It's always an exciting time. Speaking of excitement, I think somebody in Milwaukee got a little too excited with the remote control. I'm going to try to pull it up here really quick. Oh, there you go. Uh-oh. So this was in Milwaukee on one of their games over the weekend. I think what gets to me is kind of how upset he was after the fact. I think it reminds me a lot. Speaking of the World Juniors, where they were shooting the pucks at him more or less, and the guy with the net kind of got so upset. And so that's kind of the same kind of vibe I'm kind of getting with him on that. But boy, oh boy. I think we need to stop with the intermission activities because I think this is this the second oof for the year with the intermission activities?
I believe so. Yes, because we had the Hershey dodgeball game as our first oof of the year. I don't know. I kind of love it, and I hope the man working on the ice crew he's kind of looking at it a little brighter today than he did at the time. I can understand. You're a little embarrassed. You get knocked down by a giant blimp. The crowd's kind of giggling. The goal lights going off. I can understand that, but I mean, we're not laughing at you anymore. We're laughing with you. So. that was an oof. It was all in good fun though. And then we're gonna extend a nice special second oof of the week to Jeremy's Rochester Americans. Now this is currently going on as we record this on Tuesday night. The Charlotte Checkers have put up a 10 spot on the Americans. That is a 10-1 game. They are 9 minutes and 40 seconds left in the third. Rochester, what are you doing? I understand that you don't have UPL and the pipes anymore, and I get that. But 10? I mean, we've been talking so much about Peyton Krebs, Jack Quinn, and JJ Paterka. I can understand if you scored 10, but giving up 10? Oof.
Wasn't it Charlotte? We said that could be one of those teams that you just lose to.
Oh, they'll sneak up on you.
Oh, it was Utica we were talking about. And I said, it'll be like a team like Charlotte that comes out of nowhere, right? But it's one of those things. It's like, I got to feel for Jeremy, who's probably curled up in some kind of corner right now, a ball of tears. We got some Kleenexes for you, buddy. And I think that a couple teams in the Pacific Division have as well, because I think there was another blowout. It was a 10-1 spot as well, wasn't it?
Stockton over San Jose, and I mean the poor CUDA. They've just been kind of treading water, not just because their mascot is a water-based creature, but looking at 3-7 over the last 10, 81 goals against. They're just in a different hemisphere from the rest of the league. Going up against Stockton, top in the division, San Jose trudging down at the bottom there. And that's kind of what you get is a 10-1 result. Now we still got a couple minutes in this game. Charlotte could be putting up some more if Rochester's not careful.
I think we're going to pot up the AHL TV feed for this one. But I think it's one of those things for San Jose that it's who do they possibly get points out of? They haven't really played outside of their division a whole lot compared to some of the other teams. So, okay, I'm going to go against San Diego, who will just randomly go on a tear. Or let's play against Stockton, who's just always good. Or Ontario, who's just always good. And Colorado was good that one time. I mean, like, I don't know what you're supposed to do if you're San Jose. And then they got riddled with COVID. And I know the Sharks did. And so they lost a lot of their players because of that. And so
now they got a Vander Kane to deal with in the locker room.
But he's on the second line. He's not even on the first line, which is something that blows my mind. Is that he goes from like NHL, he was probably a good couple lines up there not long ago, and now he's second line AHL. It's like, okay, sure, you do that. So maybe that's our next oof.
Yeah, that's a season-long oof. That one.
Let's hope it doesn't come with a pay degrade. Let's go to our hot takes of the year.
Oh, we're coming in hot into the hot takes.
Oh, well, I guess we'll go in alphabetical order again.
Yeah, why not? So, sorry, we're going to the swipes here. I'm coming in with one off the weekend. And so we're pretty well enough into the schedule that if you're at the bottom, you kind of deserve to be there, right? The Texas Stars, though, I think that they're better than their record indicates, at least just in terms of talent and, in terms of how hard they work. Yeah, they ran into a Red Hot Wolves team this week, and they got Poruralski'd, but they didn't really give up until late into the third period of the third game of that series. I mean, on Thursday, Chicago scored one 30 seconds in. Texas got one back. Then Chicago scored again, and Texas got one back. And then Chicago scored again, and then Texas got one back. I mean, it was a real wild back and forth pace, but you never really felt like the Stars were out of it until Chicago was up. Yeah, but even when they're up 7-4, you're like, I don't know. And then Chicago got their 8th one. Excuse me. And then on Saturday, they took them to overtime. Again, Curtis McKenzie, 500th game, big goal, 3 minutes left to send it to OT. And then, they just 3-on-3 hockey is kind of a coin flip. Whoever gets the puck, well, you're kind of going to win. And then they skated with them up until that third period of that last game. You can just tell they kind of ran out of gas trying to keep up with the Wolves. I know they're at the bottom of the division, and the Central's not really that good compared to some of the other divisions, but I don't think Texas is bottom of the division bad. I just don't. I didn't see it this week.
You know what? I'm gonna have to match with you because I do think I see both sides of the argument because there's not a whole lot of excuses to me when the North Division has been what it is, and then the Pacific Division has been what it is. But I just think that there's something that they're kind of lacking that doesn't make them entirely terrible as a team. And I think that they're just kind of in this rut. And I think that they will come out of the rut. Obviously, we seen it at the beginning of the season where they weren't terrible, right? They were in the mid part of the division, which is where I kind of put them at the beginning of the season. So it's just like they kind of plummeted. And I don't know if it's because Rockford's doing half well and Milwaukee didn't lose every game that they played. Like, I think it's one of those things where they do have that kind of fire left in them. And I think that they are better than what their record shows or where their standing is in the division. My hot take. So you're not too bad. You're 1 for 1. I guess it's the kind of day it's been. We're in a dry, small town by the sounds of it.
All you need is that one match, and it'll change your life forever.
Oh. Well, I set up this beautiful profile. Okay, picture this. Okay, we got the snow falling, and a hockey rink in the middle of a baseball field, or a soccer field, or a football stadium, right? Gillette Stadium in Providence, or BMO Field, Toronto, or where the Blue Bombers play in Winnipeg. An all-star game outside. Boom. Mind blown, right?
Oh, my mind is blown. In fact, it's so blown. I wish Jeremy and Deana were here to see this super swipe up on December because I just went there. I love outdoor games, just in the right environments and everything. I'm not like a huge fan of the one outdoor game they had in like Los Angeles or whatever it was. Like it just doesn't feel right. Call me a traditionalist or whatever, call me a boomer, I'll take it. But my mind's going to the new franchise to Abbotsford. And can you imagine like being up in the mountains somewhere and having just having that backdrop to an all-star game? And I think sometimes, the AHL, it's not that they struggle to create buzz, but I think that sometimes you got to go a bit out of the box in order to generate that kind of interest in the league. Or you need something crazy like a Utica going on a 13-game winning streak to open up the season, something like that to really create buzz around the league. So I love the idea of totally going out there and just reaching for the stars and doing something just totally wild, to draw the interest in, and especially for an all-star game. Something like that would be perfect for this year when you got the Olympics maybe going on. We won't worried about that one, but you got the all-star game going right when that's about to start. what better way to draw interest in the league than you have a game outside? And again, I love it's that, that youthful optimism in me, harkening back to, the days of playing out on the frozen pond with everyone. And, those of you from anywhere further south of Michigan are just going to have to dream about these kind of scenarios that I'm talking about. But it's, it's in the right environment. It's truly heartwarming. And I think it would be great from a PR standpoint for the league. So yeah, I'm super swiping this baby.
And for me, it's like we don't want to torture him by sending him to Winnipeg in February. I joke about that, right? That would be terrible. But like, imagine if in like Colorado Springs, you have the mountains in the back and a slight snow dusting, but that's where we're at. Uh, we'll stick with Colorado, and we'll move on to our next segment, titled "They Grow Up So Fast," and because they really do. We'll start where Justin Barron, he's got called up to the Avalanche. Now, he's one of those players, I see him play in Halifax when he was with the Mooseheads, and he's good. He was a point per game player in the QMJHL, and he only played 7 games with Colorado last season. It was kind of a strange season, anyways, in the AHL. But he's shined this season, and he's earned his spots. Like, it's one of those things where he knows his positioning as a defenseman. You could see it in where he's able to block off the defenders coming down the side. He's not going to give him any room, and he's going to make the defenders go around on the side of the boards. Yeah, sure, COVID protocols and injuries and this and that all help a player to get up into the AHL. But I think he deserved his spot, and it's good to see that he's now moving up there.
How many young studs does Colorado really need on the blue line?
I just think about Colorado is they have so many young studs. It's like you guys didn't even rebuild, and you guys are like scary good in 5 years' time. Like that was like a half rebuild. You didn't even like lose out of the playoffs. You were a genuine contender like 2 years ago.
Yeah, thank God. I think we can thank the Ottawa Senators and the Nashville Predators for that one, for just loading that team up.
I
But
forgot about that.
yeah, there's a whole dissection. You can write like a whole like scholarly thesis about how the Senators and Predators basically built what could possibly be a dynasty in the making for the Avalanche here. I mean, yeah, they're still. I mean, if you look at the pieces that aren't even like full-time players now. Barron wasn't part of that trade. I don't think he was one of those picks, but Bo Byram was another kid that's really coming into his own this year. And Justus Annunen, who was a stud goaltender for the Eagles, now making his way up into the Avalanche and making a name for himself. He was one of those picks that was a part of that deal. And it's really fascinating to go and look back at those trade trees. And we thank Steve Dangle for putting all the work in and going through every little piece that was involved, because again, look at where they're at now. So I think was Barron was on that World Junior team on Canada last year, right? I believe that's where I first like had my really good glimpse of him. And kind of as you pointed out, he's a really smart player. I mean, just he reminded me a lot of like when I watched Max Lajoie with the Wolves, just in perfect position. And he's got that real active stick that can just shut down the passing lanes before, the offensive player even realizes that he's already reading his mind. And adding a guy like that in Colorado, it's again, just this glutton of riches they have up in the Avalanche. So congratulations to Justin. And we have another familiar name that's growing up here. Andrew Poruralski. He was intended to make his Carolina debut this night here on Tuesday, but the whole pandemic thing, they kind of had other plans. But he got his call up to the Carolina Hurricanes after blowing away the Texas Stars over the week. So, congratulations to the Wolves captain. And whenever you do make your debut, I'm sure it's going to be a great one.
Can I just say it's about time? Like how many more times do we have to talk about him being so great before someone listens and says, hey, this kid's awesome? But you got to give credit where credit is due for Carolina to kind of to foster him as a rookie. And, they didn't cut any corners when they did it. I think Patrick Williams said it best. They didn't cut any corners when they were creating this prospect. And what they really did was mold a player that is really going to be good. Like, I think about, like, Nedeljkovic. Like, he came through this whole Charlotte system, but he's turned out to be a half-decent goaltender out there now. And so it's one of those things where, like, these guys know how to kind of prune their prospects, and that's something that is almost a rarity nowadays, right? To do it right. That's where it is. They did it right, and I think that he definitely deserves a crack, and I'm happy to see him do it, right? And I think that being atop of the AHL in almost everything in the past couple of weeks, we haven't gotten to the point skaters yet, so I'm not entirely sure, but I have a good feeling, a hunch, that he's near the top. So,
this will not be the last time you hear the name Poruralski on this. But yeah, to your credit, GM Don Waddell, he just really morphed this the depth in his organization just to a T, to the point where they could allow Poruralski to kind of round his game out in Chicago, become the leader of that team, and then instead of rushing him up, we organically let his way come up onto the Canes. Now, granted, it was a little less organic now that they have Sebastian Aho and Seth Jarvis on COVID protocol, but at the same time, he's ready. He's ready to come up, and he's ready, not just ready to come up, but you can expect this guy to come up, be slotted into a power play unit, and immediately produce. Or I think you can kind of play him up and down anywhere in the lineup, and you can expect good results out of him. He's got the senses and the speed to keep up with the game at the NHL level. I mean, you just look at where he's at compared to the rest of the league. It's kind of mind-blowing. And the fact that he's getting this chance at age 26, I mean, they made sure he cooked in the minors before they were bringing him back up. I don't know if he's going to stay up for good, because because of any detriment on his part. Just Carolina's just so deep. I mean, that's a Stanley Cup contending roster there that has just so few, if any, holes that they're going to plug in. And if they are, maybe they move a draft pick or one of these young players for a guy at the deadline who's going to help them make that run to that cup. But they're certainly not going to make any mistakes if they want to grow from within and just have Potts come in and help deliver on that. And then we got one more. Oh, go ahead.
I think it's one of those things, I sort of cut you off, but it's one of those things where Carolina is just such a complex jigsaw puzzle that it's hard to kind of imagine a permanent spot for him. But my question is, what happens if he blows it out of the water? Like, what if he's just so good? What happens to Carolina then? So I don't know. There'll be something down somebody good. So either way, Chicago fans, this is your time.
I'm glad I don't have to make those personnel decisions. So we got another name that we've been speaking a lot about here on this podcast that grew up over this week. Akira Schmid, one of those just outright insane goaltenders, one of the tandem there in Utica, made his NHL debut over this week with the New Jersey Devils. Now, his one start so far hasn't really gone quite as well as it had over in Utica. He gave up 4 goals in a 4-2 loss to the Islanders, but again, this is kind of one of those guys where he was just I believe he's leading in both save percentage and goals against average. How do you keep a kid like that down, And with the situation behind Mackenzie Blackwood up there in Jersey, I mean, again, this might be one of those situations. I don't know if he's coming back, and
Yeah, it's one of those things. He's really a top level guy who's has a lot of potential in the NHL. I maybe he's not there yet, but it's hard to say that he isn't, especially given kind of his sort of performance that he's had in the AHL. I mean, if you're dominating the AHL, you kind of need a that sort of push. So maybe this could be the opportunity for him to, maybe not from his first game, but possibly from his second, third, fourth, fifth, or whatever else comes down the line. New Jersey can't seem to find that goaltender to lock themselves in and sink their teeth into. And it's been a long time. And someone has to step up and be the hero for that. So I'm looking at that kind of empty plate and thinking I could fill that. So it'd be interesting.
absolutely, yeah. I mean, I'm not sure how long. I believe Jonathan Bernier's out for a minute. I don't know how long he will be. If it'll be enough for Schmidt to make enough of an impression, but kind of like with Podoralski, if he comes down and just blows the doors down and up in there in Jersey, how can you keep a guy like that down in the minors? So certainly something to keep. We're going to keep our eye on, and we hope the best for Akira, Andrew, and Justin as they continue to grow up and then grow into their game.
So yeah, we a little bit of a segue, and we talked about him so much, but the top of the leaderboard, take a guess, plays on Chicago. It's Andrew Poruralski. I can't spoil. I couldn't. It was just so. He's been good, and 23 games played, 12 goals, 22 assists for 34 points. 34 points. What?
Yeah, guys just unstoppable right now. And if you want to just kind of a testament to how well he's been playing, is that he's kind of, I don't want to say carried, because that implies that CJ Smith isn't really doing any of this by himself, but his line mate is the next closest point producer in the AHL. I mean, the fact that he's elevated his winger to that kind of success, and then his other winger is also tied for the fourth spot. So I think that kind of goes to show just how much he's been lighting the lamp, and everyone else around him is seeing the fruits of his labor, and they're joining in on that success. So that would be CJ Smith. That's number 2, and he's still 7 points behind Podoralski with 27 and 23 games. Your next closest one is going to be Jacob Pelletier with 25 and 20. Following that, you got Jack Quinn, 24 and 17. And you got a couple other names here with 24. Marty Ferk, there's another familiar name. Stefan Nazin is Podoralski's other line mate there. And then you have Glenn Gaudin with 24 and 18. So, again, you're looking at the top of these leaderboards here, and you're seeing Podoralski 10 points ahead of these guys. I mean, that's just, and as he's shown, that's a weak series for him. That's 3 games. That's insane.
10 points in 3 games. That's boy, that's a stat. Hey, and maybe it has something to do with how well Chicago's been playing. Maybe it's time we start talking about how well Chicago is playing in the past 10 games.
Yeah.
Right? And you look at the leaderboard, and we have number 1, Podoralski, 2 is CJ Smith, and 6 is Stefan Noesen. So there's some sort of correlation in that for sure. I mean, Stockton has a couple players up there as well, but I mean, boy, oh boy, and Podoralski, it really goes for a testament of how much he did kind of deserve this spot. Even being AHL Player of the Week for me, and with a mediocre kind of start to the season, would be enough for me to say, yeah, let's send him off. I think it's time we give him a chance. But he's just been blowing it out of the water. There's no other way to put it. So he's exciting to watch.
Yeah. And if I recall, someone did say he was going to win MVP of the AHL this year. You remember? I don't know. It seems to escape.
The problem is I'm in so many committed relationships that I didn't know that Poruralski had more pictures to add. If I had known there was more pictures,
Oh, see, Zach, you're making a mistake of just judging someone's profile in the pictures. You got to dig deeper than that.
But Perunovich was so good. But
what really shocks me as we get into our next list here, though, is that we always knew that Poruralski was a really just excellent playmaker, and that his 22 assists in 23 games is kind of testament to that. But last year in San Diego, he scored 9 goals in 44 games. And to go along with 34 assists to, again, lead the AHL in scoring, you can see a bit of a running theme with this guy. But as we look at the top of the leaderboard here in goals, he's already got 12 in 23 games. He's already got 3 more goals than he had all of last year.
It's like December's not over yet, and you are already like doing way better than your expectations in the output. I wonder, is it anything to do with the coaching?
I can definitely say it doesn't hurt. I mean, Poruralski is being reunited with Coach Ryan Warsofsky, who back in 2019 was the assistant coach of the Charlotte Checkers, in which Poruralski put up 70 points in 72 games. So again, this is nothing new from this guy. But then he went along and put 23 points in 18 playoff games for, just Calder Cup MVP. Not a big deal for this guy. So I definitely think that was definitely part of my reasoning why you were going to see some pretty insane numbers from this guy. Just that, the familiarity with the system, the familiarity with the coach, on top of the talent level and the production that he already brings. But even I wasn't saying he was going to be blowing it out just quite like this. I mean, it's been a lot of fun to watch. So he's tied up there with 12 goals, along with Sheldon Dries of Abbotsford and Michael Mersch of Rochester, who tonight is seeing a lot more goals put in their net than they have scored. And we're going to see another familiar name there with 11, Jack Quinn, who, I mean, after he'd shown up, I haven't really seen a whole lot of movement from his name. It'd be interesting to keep an eye on. But we also have Marty Frk and Laurent Dauphin there with 11 goals. So we got some familiar names. Not a whole lot of new ones going on here, but we're seeing some movement along the leaderboard.
It's hard to be near the top of the leaderboard when you're getting blown out by Charlotte.
I tell you, that Bojangles Coliseum, man, that'll get to you.
Oh, that Bojangles. You got that 5 overtime winners and all that nonsense. Boy, oh boy. And then it's fun just to say the name. Maybe they're just too excited with how fun of a name Bojangles Coliseum is.
How do you think the fans got to feel about it? What do you think? We're going to the Jangles tonight.
Hey, honey, do you want to go to the Jangles and see the Checkers? Sure.
Or do they go to the Bow? I don't know. We need to get some Charlotte fans on here.
Yeah, we're going to need to get a resident Charlotte expert. I will personally invite the mayor to come on and talk about how great the Bojangles Coliseum is. Moving down to the rookies, Jack Quinn, he's there in second place. Scott Perunovich, who's in third. Matthias Marcelli, he's hit fourth. But Jakob Pelletier, I totally butchered that. He's at the top of the range with 25 points, 9 goals, 16 assists. Now, one thing that kind of took me for surprise is when I was looking up and down the list is the plus minus. A lot of fans and a lot of experts, they don't really like it, and I'm not huge on it. Right? It doesn't mean a whole lot, but to me, this means something when you have a plus 16 through the 20 games, and the person below you has a -2. To me, that kind of shows that either Stockton is doing something right, or this line is doing something right, or he's doing something right, I guess, in that sort of sense. But he's been playing really good for Stockton throughout this season.
I definitely think that plus minus has some value. I don't think it could be totally thrown away. Um, I think what you're seeing there is kind of just how just the force that Stockton is. And while Rochester has been putting up a lot of goals, they've also been giving up a lot of goals. And I know that Rochester has one of the most potent power plays that is in the league. I'm pretty sure if not the best, they're in the top 3. So what you're seeing from Quinn is you're getting a lot of power play goals, which is going to look nice on the stat sheet, but it does nothing for your plus minus, and then you give up a lot of goals. So yeah, he's -2 there. I think Stockton is a little more well-rounded, whereas 5-on-5 they're just as deadly as they are with the man advantage. So you're seeing those numbers climb up, and Stockton's also real stingy. The Heat do not give up a lot of goals, and I mean, they've just been dominant. I'm pretty sure that other than Utica, they have the best record in the league. So the plus minus is going to reflect more, I think, that team success at even strength. But I think that means something. I don't mean that by plus 16, Jacob Pelletier by himself is the greatest defensive forward in the league. But I think he plays on one of the better defensive teams in Stockton, and that certainly reflects it.
For sure. We talked about Jack Quinn, who's up there number 1 in the goals department in the rookie side of things. What I find kind of interesting about the rookie goals is no two teams are on the top 12. And so we kind of have a mixed bag of teams. So Quinn, Reedy's with San Jose, Peltier's with Stockton, Schwinn with Charlotte, rather. We have Iowa, Tucson, San Diego, Grand Rapids, Chicago, Toronto, Rockford, and Ontario, all on that list in that top 12. So, I mean, it's actually kind of interesting. I mean, we don't often get 2 rookies on the same team who can absolutely blow it out, but it's so diverse, which I wasn't expecting when I kind of did my little show research there today. But yeah, Jack Quinn, he's leads it up with 11 goals in 17 games.
Yeah, and a name to keep an eye on that's rising up those rookie scoring lists is Jack Drury. He had a big week in Texas with 3 goals and 2 assists for 5 points in those 3 games. Not only that, but with Poruralski up there in Carolina, Chicago is going to be in need of a new number 1 center, and whether that's going to be Jack Drury, whether that's going to be Maxim Latunov, I mean, we're going to have to kind of wait and see. Maybe it'll be a 1A, 1B type deal. We just don't know what's going on in practice here. But as the games go on, Drury he looked like he was, kind of still getting his feel early in the season, which I found a little strange considering that he was in a pro league in Sweden last year and was the MVP of their playoffs. So I was like, well, he's been kind of in this kind of setting before. I wasn't sure what was going on, but I mean, he's really starting to take off. And this is a kid that's, responsible in both ends and just getting more and more ice time the more that Coach Warsofsky trusts him. It's gonna be real interesting to see how this team looks as they play Manitoba. Actually, it would be today, Thursday, with the school day game, and then this weekend going up against the Admirals, to see if he can really go up and claim that number 1 center role. And if he can, I mean, the rest of the league ought to watch out for this kid.
That's for sure. We talk about goalie shutouts. No real change from the previous week. you're just tuning in, it's Andrew Hammond who still leads with 3, and it's a 4-way tie with second place with 2 shutouts each. It's time for the quest for the Holy Grail. That they got to get that Calder Cup run in. The first, as a general rule of thumb, the first 4 spots are generally reserved for the playoffs in each division. Yes. Just had to kind of brain fart that one, but yes, that's yes. We'll start in the Atlantic Division before my brain totally leaves. The Hartford Wolfpack are number 1. Springfield's 2, Providence 3, and Hershey 4. Hartford moving up there in that this week with a 6-4 record through their past 10, and they're kind of on par with Springfield, really. So it's the Atlantic Division is starting to heat up a little bit, I think.
Yeah, I seeing Hartford moving up there now. I think that's more to Springfield losing 3 straight because Hartford was kind of in limbo there as they went through protocols and had a couple games postponed. Because when they came out, Hartford lost to Lehigh Valley and just so that was kind of ugly coming off protocol there, but there's no denying the talent on this team. I mean, they've been up in that second spot chasing Springfield for weeks. We've been seeing them in that spot. Then but as you see Springfield kind of tumbling down the standings a bit, I think you're gonna see an opportunity for Providence and for Hershey to hopefully. I mean, they're not that far behind them. I mean, there's still a bit of a cushion there for Springfield, so it's not time to hit the panic button yet. But you lost 3 straight. You lost the top spot. Better, I mean, I get you want to look ahead, not look in the rearview mirror, but don't take these Bruins lightly. I think with the right opportunity, we could be seeing some real chaos here in the Atlantic. It'd be a lot of fun.
And I think they're all just plowing their way for Lehigh Valley to come back with their 6th win in 21 games.
Oh my God. They're almost halfway to the 13-game mark.
They are almost halfway. And that, 13, that's the lucky number that would get you into first place, really. Yeah, that's but even Hershey's kind of, I don't want to say they've surprised me because they are still the villain in my mind. They cannot make it past the first round. That's it. I'm here to make enemies, not friends. But they've kind of surprised me that they actually haven't been completely dominating. I mean, they've only had 9 wins and about 10 losses, so it's not what I expected out of them. But it's boy, oh boy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sitting there 5-5 in their last 10. I mean, they've been just kind of hovering right around that 500 mark, and it's not going to get it done in the long term. But it's the thing about these Hershey Bears, man. They hang around, and they don't go gently into that good night. And it's going to be interesting to see as the year goes on. I think that they're going to get some players back that were up in Washington for a bit. And I have a soft spot in my heart. Maybe it's the chocolate. Maybe I just have a sweet tooth, but I have a soft spot in my heart for them. I love me some Hershey Bears. What do you want me to do?
Well, maybe I shouldn't be poking the bear while it get hit by a comet somewhere in the North Division. Speaking of the Comets, they're in first place in the North Division, a 17-1-2 record. That's good for 90%, if your math is like mine. And they've won their last 4 games, 4-6 in regulation. What more is there to say about the North Division besides this is tight? I mean, Rochester, despite losing to Charlotte, yeah, they're still pretty up there. Toronto's shortly behind, and so is Cleveland. So I just can't say enough about how tight this is. I mean, you look at Laval. So Laval has they're about 52%, and this is all percentage that gets you into your kind of playoff spot here. And we look at the team above them, which is the Cleveland,
Yep.
and they're at 54. So we're talking like 2% in between a playoff spot and not. And I still stick with my guns in saying that this could be one of the last couple of spots to get their AHL position. I can't see Rochester going on a tear anytime soon. I can't see Toronto or Cleveland doing it. So
Yeah,
it's there.
you look above the Monsters at 54 is the Marlies with 55. And then you go underneath Laval with 52, and it's Belleville at 50. And this really stood out at me looking up at the standings. Rochester is sitting there at second with 10 wins in regulation, right?
Yep.
You know who else has 10 wins in regulation? The team in sixth place, Belleville. So you got to look at Coach Mann's squad there. I think they're doing something right with those 10 regulation wins. I think they haven't found the way to lose properly. They have 11 regulation losses, which are really holding them down. They haven't been able to carry those L's in the overtime or in the shootout. So that's what's been kind of hurting Belleville there. But they're in the hunt, and that's all you need to be in the North with how tightly packed this is. You just gotta be within striking distance. You catch fire, you get hot for a little bit. Look at Rochester before the drubbing from Charlotte this evening. They're on a 5-game winning streak. They were 7-3 in their last 10. What does that put them? That puts them at number 2. And I would comfortably enough, I'll say that. They're sitting there with a 68 point percentage versus Toronto, who's at 55. But again, all it takes is that 1 week, one team getting hot, and these standings are just get flipped up on their head, and it's been awesome. I love me some North Division hockey. It's just nothing but chaos.
Teams in the hunt, you gotta stay out of the woods if you're playing with Iowa or even Chicago, because you will get attacked by a Wolf who's been absolutely fantastic in
Yeah.
their past 10 games. Boy, oh boy, 9 out of 10. Perfect. Bravo.
9 straight wins for the Chicago Wolves. What's really impressive for me was their last 5, the 2 against Iowa, and then the 3-game series against Texas. Those were all on the road. And this team, if you believe it or not, this team has a 12-1 record on the road. They actually, I think, last I checked, they had a losing record at home. This is just an absolutely road warrior team. They love playing away from All-State. They love just those road trips. They're just, team chemistry building on the bus, and then you get into that opposing locker room, and it's just all systems go. It's kind of been unbelievable the way they've been doing it. And then you look at the 81 goals for. It speaks for itself. The Wolves are they're the class of the division at the moment. But do not sleep on the Manitoba Moose. This is a team that plays just extremely hard. They love crashing the net. They love throwing a lot of shots at the goalie, and they just have this mentality. Every time you got the puck within the blue line, you just throw it at the net, and someone's going to be there. They're just going to create chaos, and it's just going to turn into chances. You're just going to wear that defense down, and it's just going to provide opportunities. I mean, the Moose themselves are 8-2 in their last 10. If you don't have a juggernaut like the Wolves up there at top, you're talking about, the Moose is the top team in the Central. And I love.
Can we talk about Rockford too? Who's kind of like
exactly where I was going to go. I
coming out of like
Rockford.
their past 10 hasn't been like fantastic, but compared to where they were like down there. Oh, hello, Milwaukee. Hi, this is the bottom. Oh, okay. To now they're like 3rd place in the Central Division. Like what?
Good for them. I was kind of ragging on them earlier where I was like, oh, yeah, Rockford is just going to plant their flag in the basement. And look at them shoving it right back in my face, sitting there in the 3rd spot. You know what? Good on the Ice Hogs. They've had just an absolutely tumultuous year with everything going on with the parent club. Then Chicago firing their coach and having to bring Derek King up. But they've been doing an excellent job there. I hope they can sustain it. because I also kind of feel it's a bit of an anomaly. When you're looking at goals scored versus goals against, they're at 55 goals for, which is the worst in the Central by quite a bit. And then their goals against is 71, which isn't like the worst in division or anything. But there's a bit of a discrepancy there. And I'm not sure how they're winning some of their hockey games, but they find a way. And is it sustainable? I don't know. I mean, Iowa's been dropping like an absolute rock ever since they ran into the Wolves. 2-6, 1-1 in their last 10. I mean, oof. I already gave them enough grief on the last episode of the pod, so I'll jump over the Wild on this one. Then you got Grand Rapids. They've always just been kind of hovering around 500. Then you got Milwaukee. Well, again, we've been kind of beating up on them enough, but hey, they've won their last 4 games, so good on the Admirals on there. Rounding it up at the end with the Texas Stars.
Boy, it's like beating a dead horse around the division. And speaking of dead horses, well, maybe a dead shark, San Jose is sitting at the bottom of the Pacific Division. Stockton still keeps Reign at the top. Oh, I guess they're not the Reign, but they are at the top of the division. And Ontario's just been playing excellent. Just down below it, Henderson in third, and Colorado's sitting at fourth place. That in mind, we have a couple good games this week coming up, and we'll start with you in the Atlantic Division.
Yeah, so my game of the week here in the Atlantic, I got Friday with Hershey going into Springfield, and as I alluded to before, like, Springfield, what are you doing? And like, Scott Prunovich leaves. Okay, I get the power play's not looking quite so hot, but you lose 3 in a row, and the third is a 6-0 loss to the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins. Really? What's going on here? So I want to see them try and see if they can rebound. And I mean, Hershey's no reprieve. It's going to be a tough team coming in. I want to see if the T-Birds can respond.
Yeah, that's for sure. I'm looking at the Providence and Belleville on Saturday because I think that what we've seen from Providence is totally different from the team that we seen last year. To me, it kind of felt like they were almost stuck in this endless minefield of just playing the same 2 teams, literally the same 2 teams over and over. And we haven't seen Belleville and Providence play a whole lot in the past couple of years, if any. So I think that when they come up over the border and they jump into Canada, it'll be a fun matchup to see on Saturday.
Absolutely. So as we move on into the North, I got a bit of a personal stake in this one. I got Sunday's game, the Marlies going in, the Grand Rapids take on the Griffins. And I'll be bringing the action to you guys live from Van Andel Arena, so that's kind of why I've got it circled on my calendar. But I also have it for another reason. This will be the second game of a back-to-back in this series here. Calvin Pickard has already made 11 straight starts. You can pretty much pencil him in for Saturday's game. But on Sunday, you got to wonder, is Coach Simon going to want to start him on yet another back-to-back? Granted, he gives you a great choice, or is he going to go to Victor Bratstrom? He's going to give him the assignment of just a tough, fast team in Marlies.
Yeah, Toronto's not without their mistakes, but it would be tough not to kind of consider playing Pickard twice, especially with the kind of experience that he brings. For me, it's Utica and Cleveland. And I think that these 2 squads played previously this week, last week, I should say. And I think that there's some genuine kind of bitterness between these 2 teams. And I think that it's something to watch over the next couple of days.
Absolutely. I mean, you got 2 teams that love going up against each other. It'll be a great one. Going into the Central, this one kind of seems obvious. I think it's going to be today's school day game. You got number 1 versus number 2, Manitoba, coming into Chicago. You got the 2 hottest teams in the Central going head-to-head. What more could you want? Chicago, we've already said enough about them. They've just been absolutely on fire. But the only time that they've played Manitoba this season, they got waxed 5-1 at home, and it didn't even feel that close. So, and not only that, but Andrew Poruralski is up there in Carolina. You're not going to have him. They do get some reinforcement, though, with Max Lajoie coming back there. You get your number one defenseman back from his own assignment up there in Carolina. But kind of as we said before, no Cole Perfetti there for the Moose going into the juniors. And I want to see which team's ready to step up and make a statement here.
Yeah, and I think the Central game of the week is just the same as it was for you in the North. And I think that's the game between the Marlies and Grand Rapids. I mean, like we said, we haven't seen these two teams play since the 2019-20 season. And I think that it's going to bring up a lot of genuine questions about who you're going to start and when. Toronto's been riddled with injuries, and I know Detroit hasn't really had their luck in the past couple of weeks. So I think that it's one of those things that it'll bring up an interesting matchup.
Absolutely. And yeah, again, Sunday I'll be bringing you the coverage live from Van Andel. I'm excited. As we head into the Pacific, I got Friday's Colorado at Stockton matchup. The Eagles have been rolling lately. They won 3 straight heading into Wednesday's game with the Barracuda. I don't know about you. I think I'm going to kind of chalk that one up as a dub for the Eagles. But Stockton's well documented at breaking streaks, though, with Ontario and San Diego coming in. And with the best point percentage, any team not named Utica, they're going to give the Eagles all they can handle.
That's for sure. San Jose and Ontario are playing each other on Friday. It's one of those things. I want to see San Jose coming out of that basement. It's tough. And, maybe Evander Key will give him that spark in the locker room. Maybe.
I'm not a betting man, but I wouldn't put my money on that.
Oh, he is, though.
I set you up for that one.
That was a perfect one-timer. The power play unit hitting it again. Woo!
Oh, my God.
Oh,
great. That is great content. So, well, now we're here. Jeremy was supposed to lead our bonus round, but he's not here. So what are we doing?
I was going to ask you that.
Oh,
maybe we'll just have to leave it for Jeremy to come back, and I can sneak in there with a couple more Price is Right bids.
some more dollar bills, y'all.
Oh, dollar Bob. Boy,
rules everything around.
You know what? I have to admit, this has been a good power play unit.
Penalty kill unit, but yes, I agree.
Yes, we are the specialty teams. We are the first line in penalty killing, and we made it.
All right. Well, here, if you can guess the score of the Milwaukee-Iowa game going on right now without looking, then yeah,
Spidey senses, they're tingling. They're tingling. Milwaukee and Iowa. Ooh, that's definitely a barn burner. It's got to be 4-3 in the second period.
You got 4, but it's 4-1.
Ooh.
The Admirals are up. They're on their way to their 5th straight win. Look at that, climbing out of the basement. I said before that Milwaukee wasn't as bad as their record indicated. I guess Iowa wasn't that good either. Oof.
I thought they had cement shoes.
No, I think
what happened to Iowa? I thought they used to be good.
They did used to be good, and then they met the Wolves, and then they're like, "Oh, right, we're not that good." Sorry.
They had like Mayhew, and he was just like dominating, and then
but Mayhew's on Lehigh Valley. He's dominating there with his 6 wins.
Yeah, it's someone has got to plant their feet.
They still hold the fort. I was just they're just running it up with Cody McLeod, they're going for the penalty minute record, and I wonder what that is. I wonder what I was gonna say. We should have another bonus round where it's like you have to guess what the AHL record is in penalty minutes. Guarantee you the Wild hold it, but. No, look at that. I can't believe it. They're losing 4-1 in the third period, and Cody McLeod is not even taking a minor penalty. Good for you, Cody. Yeah.
That is fake news.
Well, maybe that's why they're losing.
The score is backwards.
Okay, all right, so you win half the round? You got one?
And we'll go with that.
Okay.
And
that's our bonus round. All right.
That's our bonus round. Yay, we did it. I think on that note, we have to close the show because I think any more longer, our power play unit is just going to run out of gas. Or penalty killing unit, that is. That's how.
I think we're already running out of gas here.
That's it. That's how gone my brain is right now. If you like this content, please subscribe, like, share. We'll be back with the usual next week. If you really like us, give us a follow on Twitter, and be sure to check out all of Field Pass Hockey's other hockey podcasts: Inside the SPHL with James Hayes, Syracuse Speaks with Alexander Ackerman, Monsters Musings with Andrew Garino, Deana Weinheimer, and Jay Forrester, the Three Periods podcast with Matthew Will and Matt Harding. But I will leave it to Andrew, who has a little tease for what's coming up next week.
So next week, we have a bit of a special guest here for all of our listeners here at the Holy GrAHL. We have Jonathan Berggren, the next stud for the Red Wings and current stud for the Grand Rapids Griffins, who's going to be coming on to this show to talk about just adjusting to life in North America and what it's like to be really good at hockey. I can't wait. You guys are going to love it. It's going to be awesome.
We talk about him so much off air. Thank you so much for joining us. Until next week. Bye for now.
This has been the Holy GrAHL podcast. Have a question or topic suggestion? Hit us up on Twitter or drop us an email. For the latest news across the American Hockey League and the rest of minor league hockey, download the Field Pass Hockey app, now available in the Apple and Android app stores.